the ZiiGaat X Fresh Reviews Arete. Let's talk about it. This is a single dynamic driver plus 4BA hybrid IEM from ZiiGaat that costs $249. This is a sample that was sent out to me by Linsol, and I first of all wanted to thank them for the opportunity to review this IEM that's been out for about 6 months or so. Let's start by looking at the build quality, and then we'll go from there. The shell on this IEM is quality. It's a nice nozzle. It looks and feels good in ear. It doesn't quite have a lot of breathability like the anti-tragus catch, or kind of like the little wing that you can see here on the Magic 1 here on the left. But overall, it's a nice IEM with a metal nozzle. It feels like it's durable. It has a filter on the front. It's a flat 2-pin cable connector. Has a venting in the back, and this is kind of their silver blackish model. They're doing some new faceplate colors, which I think is pretty great. I like the design of this faceplate, and I think it is very pretty. This has the standard ZiiGaat case, which is a very nice case. I think it costs about $15 depending on where you buy it, but it's kind of hard. It has a nice zipper. It feels and looks good in hands. No problem. It's a nice addition to any earphone, and it's a nice addition to this earphone. The cable, I mean, you have a little red for red connector and a little white for left. I mean, it has a chin slider it's a little bit loose. I want to say this is the same cable that ZiiGaat uses on their other IEMs, but it's a solid IEM cable. It's a 3.5. I believe it only terminates in 3.5, which is okay, especially considering this is meant for gamers. So how does this IEM sound? It sounds very nice. It's boomy. It has a great FR curve, and it is a nice overall IEM. They've done a really good job with this IEM. The problem is that there's a lot of other IEMs out there that are also good. ZiiGaat has done a lot of IEMs that are right around this price for $250. And I think that the Arete, I think it has boomy, thick, rich bass. Its bass is very grounded and nice, but there's some issues on the upper treble and air that make this a little bit more challenging to listen to compared to some other models. But at its price, I do find it exceedingly competitive, very fun, and a nice overall IEM that I do think people are going to like. Let's look at some graphs, and then we'll rank it up. All right, here is the graph of the ZiiGaat X Fresh Reviews Arete, and I want to say for this graph, it is a very pretty graph, and they did a really good job in tuning. It reminds me of a lot of IEMs I've seen, and it's a very nice sounding IEM. For me personally, I find myself a little bit sensitive to this 4 to 5K region. There's a little bit of a hump there, but overall, it's just a really nicely tuned IEM with not a lot of faults that I do enjoy. Like if you were a member, if you're one of like Fresh's people or like from his channel and you're thinking, is this going to be good for gaming? I would have to say that this is going to be really good for gaming. It comes with everything you would need. It's a very nice earphone. It's very pretty. It has a nice supple cable, and it's just an all around nice earphone for the price, and I think it does justify its price. Now, there's been a lot of IEMs put out, like the ZiiGaat X HBB Arcadia. Now, I got a chance to demo this from a buddy of mine when the Arcadia was just recently turned out, and I found it very dark, meaning that it didn't have a lot of this presence region right here. It just, it was a fine IEM, but it just felt a little bit lackluster for me and for my taste, but it wasn't bad. I would go with the Arete over the Arcadia, but they're also different in price. As far as other IEMs, this is Jay Audio's Estrella. Now, I do really like Jay's. I've talked with him. I bought a few IEMs from him, even traded with him a little bit. And so I might have some biases here, and I want to be clear about that. But as far as like A-Bing them, the problem with the Arete is that this frequency response can come off slightly dull and boring. And so for me, for part of that reason, you can call it drivers, you can call it what you will, but I kind of would have to go with the Estrella as far as sound quality goes, as far as music listening goes. I feel it has a little bit of that, special sauce, and I do think it is a special IEM, but at the same time, it's hard to say like which reviewer. So we've compared this a few ZiiGaat collabs out there. Now, around this price, there is the Da5, and you'll notice the Da5 has about the same FR curve with a little bit of this 4 to 5K energy. I think the Da5 is a lot of fun. It's a little bit more expensive. I think you could go with either one of these. It really depends. I kind of would have to go with the Da5. I just feel like it has that better sort of musicality to it, and the treble in the Da5 is done in a little bit more pristine kind of a way. The Cinco Trays have a very similar feeling with it. It's a little bit more of a mid-bass heavy set, a little bit more like 3K spiked treble. It's a little bit more like kind of like a meta-tuned IEM. I think the Cinco Trays would be more agreeable to many people right around that price, but it really depends on what you're looking for. And if you're looking for a bass can with lots of sub bass, I mean, look how much much sub bass the Arete has. And I think if that's what you're going for bass and you're a bass head, the Arete does a very nice job of that. And like, it's extremely satisfying as far as a bass cannon goes. The new darling of ZiiGaat's lineup is the Odyssey. And I think the Odyssey is fantastic. It's one of my I gave it like an A+ of all ZiiGaat's IEMs in that like $250 space. This one would get my vote, and I do feel that this is the best of all the sub 300 ZiiGaats that I know of to date. I do know that ZiiGaat is doing some new IEMs, and I'm interested in both of them. ZiiGaat is kind of a brand from Linsol, and I recently got the opportunity to demo another IEM called the Rosso. Now, I really like the Rosso, and I feel like just from pure music listening, I feel that that's a little bit better for my taste. It doesn't quite have that sub-bass impact that the Arete has, but I think it's a really nice IEM. If you're looking at a style of IEM with a lot of bass and something cheaper, I really like the Rosso, and I think they did a fantastic job with it, and I would recommend it. Like, it's just, it's great. It's a great set. Another one to look at, I think, is really good for you music heads. This is the new Kiwi Ears Aether, and that is a planar IEM, and it is a fantastic IEM. To me, it just kind of dials in with nice bass and nice treble, and it could really work for you. I mean, my current take is it kind of has that 4K region dip, which I think is important for my ears, and I think that's a good thing to have as a dipped region, at least for me. And I really like that set, and it's a little bit cheaper as well. So like, I just wanted to show you some other ones from the greater Linsol brands that might work for people instead. There are other sets out there. Like, if you're really looking for treble, I really like the Moondrop Critical Dusk. I think it's a really nice set for treble. It does also kind of lack in this presence region, and it doesn't have as much sub bass. So it's like the Arete does a really good job if you're just looking for like really hard hitting like EDM tracks. The Arete is going to do a really good job for that. Like, I would say it does a good job for gaming as it's intended, and it does a fine job for music as well. I wanted to compare this to an IEM called the Jazeera 61T, and there's a lot of similarities to these. And I think what kind of is the problem sometimes at IEM, sometimes at this price, is that they'll get the bass, they'll get the lower mids, the upper mids, and that presence region dialed in quite well, but the mid treble region will come across just slightly, like just the air and detail doesn't quite sound right, but it has a nice tonality. The Arete reminds me a lot of the Jazeera 61T in that tonality, and then sometimes you need to have a little bit of a certain thing, a little bit of a peak, which kind of didn't work for me. But overall, it's a fine earphone, but it's not one of those, and it's a great earphone. Like, it's one of those ones where, like, if people were listening to, they're going to be like, yeah, this is great, this is fun. But when you really dial it down, like, it's not going to be the say all, end all, be all. And for me personally, right around this 240, I like the Awful P7. I think it's a fantastic set. Has a little bit of spicy treble, but I like it. You'll see some similarities to it. But I think that's a fantastic set if that's something you're going for. But again, the P7 is more of an air treble focused set rather than a bass focused set. All right, the fresh reviews, Arete. Let's look at this and see how it ranks. It ranks pretty well. I mean, it's getting a solid 8.0. It has really nice bass, and I gave it a solid 9. Its mids are pretty good, and I gave it a 8. But its upper highs and treble, like its imaging, like how it really sounds in ear, like that finer things that you'd have to really get from, like off of a graph, it doesn't quite have that, and it does hit me a little bit that 4K region for whatever reason. Excuse me. But it does have really nice note weight. Like I almost gave this a 10. Like if I was going to give this decimals like I used to, I'd almost give this like a 9.5. I do think, if the treble doesn't hurt you, like kind of like the Eroso, and like you can look at this and you can say, hey, yeah, that air doesn't bother me and you're new, that's going to be an S for you. It has a really nice tonality, a really nice timbre. It just feels really good, and it is a very agreeable, enjoyable earphone. But I just don't, I feel like the upper air and extension needs something, like maybe a tweeter BA, or maybe a microplanar, or maybe ESTs, which I know might increase the cost, but I think it would increase the overall value of this IEM by making it a better IEM, and that's what I would encourage them to do in the next reiteration, because the tuning that the Arete has can come across slightly dull despite it having a beautiful FR. So this is a solid, beautiful IEM that I think, it's interesting because they've done a lot of IEMs as of late. Like ZiiGaat's done a lot of different collabs with Jays and with HBB, and I think this is a fine IEM. I don't have a ton of experience with fresh reviews. I have watched a bunch of his channels. I actually met his cousin at CanJam this last SoCal. Shout out to you if you're watching. But and I have no problem with them. I just think that this IEM is a little bit too bassy for my liking, a little bit more geared towards really getting a lot of details at certain ranges that maybe I don't really want from my music. I think this is a fine IEM. I think if you're looking at this IEM, I think you should buy it. But is this the best one in the market? For me, the Odyssey probably would be that one, and that's an IEM that's only been out 2 months, where this has been out for about 6. So maybe ZiiGaat's learned some things. They decided to try something, and I think that for me would get my vote in ZiiGaat's lineup. But this is a solid choice nonetheless. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys tune in again sometime, and have a great day. Bye-bye for now. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Oh, you're expecting a teaser for our next video. Well, we don't have that kind of money. What are you expecting? One of those store reviewers to show up in a saucy little leather number? Go. Oh, I can tell you one thing. We are going to have a collab video. We have no idea what it's going to be. Probably Kryn, maybe Chris, or Joyce. Don't deny it. She's got range. Go. Get out of here.
Go.
Go!
Go.
Go on with you!